Hey, what's up, Miss Blondie? How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. So before we dive into this, I just gotta do the usual spiel to make sure people on my side of things know what the fuck is up. Like we already talked about. And then I'll probably let you introduce yourself, and we'll get at it. So first off, first, she does not have to be doing this, guys. There's probably things she'd rather be doing tonight, things I'd rather be doing tonight. Like I always say, she's kind enough to give us some of her time up here. She does not have to be doing this. No one has to have to be doing this. So let's not go harass people. Let's not go report people. Let's not be rude. We can disagree respectfully. All right, because of course she's going to disagree with me probably at some point tonight. I'm probably going to disagree with her at some point tonight. That's totally okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to have real conversations again. All right, and then we're going to all say goodbye at the end of the night, and it's going to be just okay. All right, there's no fucking nothing to complain about, nothing to worry about. I know there's a lot of animosity on my side of things. I've been seeing some comments and stuff, so maybe we'll dive into some of that tonight and figure out what's up there. But yeah, if I can't tell you what to do, but please respect me and respect her, and let's not go be rude. All right, let's not be nasty. Because again, she does not have to do this. So thank you, and to you.
Okay, I second that. My name's Angela. I'm from Texas. I consider myself an independent because I think I'm pretty open minded about a lot of things. So, I vote right. But let's just dive right into this issue because I have been wanting to talk about it. There was a video made by a woman that said something along the lines of, how does it feel speaking to white women being like a threat to the black race? And I stitched it and I said that no, black women are the number one threat to the black race via abortion. And I am a pro life, I am against abortion. I want everybody to make a different choice. Um, and so for that video, my portion was taken down for hate speech or harassment, bullying, something like that. So I made another video, which is still up, talking about the statistics because it's hard to explain, and in a stitch, you don't even have the 59 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't like to be considered a threat to the black race. I have never hurt anyone. I would never hurt anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's extremely offensive for me to be lumped in with other white people that may happen to be racist. I mean, I'm not a racist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I care about black women. I care about the amount of babies that are dying. And the thing is when black women and white women kill the same amount of babies every day. It's like 900 to 1,000. They kill the same amount. And I have a problem with both of those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue is that black women aren't having as many babies as white women, and because our population is greater, it is. Um, so it's that's why they're not growing, and that's kind of my point. They're not growing in their race because there's 37% of what possible births to be born are being aborted. And I don't want them to abort their children. And I don't also, can be honest, I don't really have a fix because
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I'm loaded. It's not like I can donate all my time and my money to go around and help these women out, white women or black women. I don't. I have my own children. They're grown now, but
Yeah, but I mean, you still got family, and you're always
I
once you're
still
a
have
mom, you're always
family
a
and I have a
mom.
life.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but so that's why I try to talk about it. But I do see from their standpoint, from the original video, that if I probably came off harsh, that it was because I don't really have an excuse. I reacted to her message.
You're fine. Here's what I'll say to that. You've seen some of my videos. I pop off sometimes, right? People sometimes say shit. Sometimes we maybe try and walk it back, and not necessarily that we take back the conclusion, but maybe we try to reframe it or say it in a different way, right? Like you said, we all get emotional. I'll admit I'm pro-choice, but with that being said, I think everyone's goal should be to reduce abortions, right? We should all be trying to minimize as many abortions as possible. So to that end, I think that's a fair thing, right? Now, obviously, I think when you dive into the abortion conversation, there's a lot of debate and discussion about what's life, things like that.
Sure.
But with that being said, I think what matters and what it's important to remember is most people fucking care. All right, we care about life, we care about other people. I think the problem is we all have value differences, right? And sometimes these value differences look different, but it's for the same reasons. We just see things differently. So as far as I'm concerned, I can't speak for other people. I didn't see that video. I didn't see that exchange. I can only judge you off of our interactions and stuff. So appreciate you trying to clear the air there. As far as I'm concerned, you got a blank slate with me. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. So I did want to mention, and this is something that maybe we can come to an agreement on, like right up front, because you made a statement. And I am going to disagree with you right up front, but
Hmm.
just let me explain. But you made the statement that police death was the fifth leading cause of death for Black men, and that didn't seem right to me because there's so many other things that kill Black people and white people. So I went to go look and I pulled up
Hmm.
the statistics for Black and white men. Well, Black men, the number one cause of death for Black men from ages from birth to I think 44 was homicide.
Hmm.
Now it's, and then on the left, or on the white males, it's unintentional deaths, which probably, being young, it may be car accidents and something like that. But what I found interesting is that in those top five leading causes of death for men in general is homicide, suicide, and unintentional deaths, which is it's
Hmm.
different for women.
Way different.
And I found that really, I mean, it really hurt me to think, why, I wonder why this is happening. And we talk about black on black crime and everything. And I don't think, when somebody says black on black crime, they just mean that Black people are killing Black people, but white people are killing white people. So it's
Hmm.
like, I mean, there's an occasional cross, but for the most part, they kill each other.
Yeah, to your point, intraracial violence is actually pretty much the same across races, right? Yeah, to your
Right.
point. So.
Right. But I just found that really interesting, that homicide, like, why do you think that's happening? Why do you think men are killing each other?
So I think that just kind of points to I think men are kind of more aggressive, at least like within this like framework of how we live, especially in our society, right? I know I'm a pretty aggressive dude, right? And there's like this kind of pride whenever one of us starts talking shit or something, be it sports, a basketball game or something, we just can't back down. It's really bad. It's like this like
So
little
why
weird
do you
pride
think they're
thing.
committing suicide?
Now the suicide thing I think is interesting, right? So this relates back to so we have a lot of talk about feminism, right? What feminism looks like in today's society. You have a lot of critical theory and stuff like that. I think that men are having a difficult time as the world transitions from one that's not so much about brawn and physical skill sets to one that are more about what do you bring to the table mentally, right? And I think that we don't do a great job of raising our men to adapt and fit into a changing world. And I think this just applies to everyone. I don't think we raise our kids very well in today's society. I don't think we're raising our generations very well. I don't think we've been doing a lot too well in this country for like the last 75 years, especially. A lot of people would say since the beginning, right? I think we all would pick a time period, but I think most people today feel like something's been going kind of wrong. We can look at the rate of single parent households that have been rising since the 60s pretty steadily. But I mean, at the same time, it's not just single parent households. How many two parent households and in divorce, which we know harms children, things like that, right? So I don't think it's really like a two parent, single parent. I think it's just we have a culture where we don't really value raising our children, man. Like we don't, like we just don't in this country. I don't think it's a racial thing. I don't think that's a religious thing. I think that's just kind of how we roll in this country, man. Look at the way we talk about our children. Look at the way we talk about and treat our elderly. I just don't think we have great values these days as a society. I don't think that specifically addresses what you're asking, because to be honest, I don't know the total answer to that, right? I don't know why our
Yeah.
suicide rates are kind of rising. I don't know why. I do know that men typically will go for a gun or something like that, whereas women might not utilize a method that's as effective. So I do know that we usually succeed more when we do try, so that might be a contributor.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll kind of pause there because I said a lot, and I know I was kind of dancing around. But I don't really have a good answer for your question there. I'm more of like a comms guy. I'm not great with like mental health and stuff like that. So,
Well, there's definitely a mental health issue problem in our country, but I think a lot of it is when you devalue life, even before birth. When it comes to abortion, you kind of devalue it ongoing, because I believe, I mean, I have two children.
hmm.
I knew, yeah, of course they started out as cells, but we're just cells right now. We're just bigger. So, I was young. I was 19 when I got pregnant. But when you start devaluing life like that, I think it bleeds into it makes it not seem as important, and it is, and it's
I'm
sad.
actually inclined to agree there. Again, I'm pro-choice, but I think that we have to have a realistic conversation. However you want to classify a fetus, a clump of cells, whatever you want to call it, a baby, etc. If we don't interfere in that timeline, we all know what happens, right? At 22 weeks, you're going to start to develop the mental structures necessary for consciousness, things like that, right? Pain, things of that nature. So again, I'm pro-choice. I try to really listen to other demographics because ultimately this doesn't affect me physically, right?
Right.
But I'm kind of the mindset that if we're going to be a society that is pro-choice, we still should make, because the biggest thing I find is it's ultimately it's about preventing it to begin with, right? If people have
Right.
access to contraceptives, if they have good sex ed, right, they know how to make the proper decisions. We can avoid abortions to begin with for the most part.
Right.
I think that should always be the focus, right? Trying to reduce abortions. So I'm with you on that. I think we could do a better job of valuing life. Um, I hesitate to go into the abortion one just because I think this is a really personal one for you, and not that that's a bad thing, because there's personal topics for me. Like Iran's a deeply personal topic for me. Um, I'm not looking for like a debate tonight. I'm looking to first have a convo. So I think I'll leave you last word on this one, and maybe we can do an abortion convo one time where we're both kind of more ready to to kind of dive it out and have that
Yeah. No.
conversation.
No. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just talking. I'm just bringing up stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Because to that
So,
point, hold on.
Is there something that you wanted to talk about with me?
Honestly, I had nothing in mind because I knew we talked earlier, what, about a week ago or so, about maybe kind of hammering out some topics, but I was kind of lazy about that. I was gonna say real quick, you're not wrong about the one thing. So just so people can know where I got the information from. It was from University of Michigan, and you're right. It was looking at black men, I believe 18 to 35, and white men. Number one was accidental death for black men. Two was suicide. Three was other homicide. Four was heart disease. Five was cancer, and then six was use of police force. But that was from Michigan University and some research that they did. So just like I said, if someone wants to go check that out, that's where I got the information from. So
Okay.
feel free to follow up on that. But to
Oh,
her
so
point,
mine was on the CDC. I didn't
and
even
I
get to
can
make
confirm
mine,
what
but
she said, by the way, because the CDC does match up with that. If you take like the entire racial group, so I should have been probably more clear. It was a subset of men 18 to 35.
oh, okay.
So yeah, so
All right.
you your numbers are
That's
totally right
fair.
because the CDC I think it's just homicide. It doesn't break down like what type of homicide or like it's just
True.
the entire number.
True.
And then, but to your point, this goes back to like when we talk criminal justice or any type of like police brutality, this shit disproportionately impacts men. Like that's facts. Like if we look at sentencing in our criminal justice system, that disproportionately impacts men. For example, white
100%.
men do even worse than black women, for example, even in the prison system, I believe, right? So
100%.
when we talk about like the systemic issues in our country, it's important to remember it does impact everybody. I just think certain groups are impacted more depending on the conversation.
And I think it's men. I think it's a combo of men, just men in general of all races. I do think they get punished more harshly. I think our justice system is completely effed up to begin with. I mean, we have a three-tiered justice system. If you're broke and can't afford an attorney, you have to get a public defender who works for the state that's prosecuting you. So what's the I mean, that's corrupt from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then if you have money and can afford an attorney, you'll get less time or no time. And then if you're a politician, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, you get no time. There's never charges. You never even have to defend yourself. It's like swept underneath the rug. Yeah, I mean, our justice system and who it affects is all of us. I mean, middle class and below. Even upper middle class. I mean, if you can't, that's probably that. It makes me sick to think about it, how people are treated in the justice system. And then you have people who are innocent with exculpatory evidence that are waiting to get heard by a judge, and judges won't hear them. And they're
Hmm.
sitting there in cells and being treated badly when they're innocent. I mean, that is probably the number one the most injustice in our country could ever be an innocent man or woman sitting in prison.
Hmm.
I mean, it's yeah, it's
And
a
we know the
travesty. It really is.
incarceration rates in this country, man. We toss a lot of people in jail compared to other developed nations. We toss a lot of people. And to your point, less than 10% of people are ever going to have a hearing of any kind, see a jury or their peers. Most people are pleading out because, to your point, they don't have the resources or the know-how to be able to navigate the system, right?
It's so,
Yeah, it's totally messed up. That's one of the things I think we can all agree on. We need some massive criminal justice reform, just top down, man. I think that's what's kind of crazy to me is like there's a lot of shit in this country we all see and we're like we need to fix shit, but like I guess I think here, how about this? I'll kind of go here. I feel like, and obviously there's a way to frame your criticisms, right? It's one thing to say, hey, I think we got a problem here. How do we address it? And it's a whole other thing to be like, yo, fuck this, blah blah blah, right? But I
Right.
feel like a problem that we feel like on the left is that when we do try to point to things that we need to fix in the country, it seems like people oftentimes will be like, "Oh, like why don't you like just leave then? Like you don't like the country." And it's like, "No, no, we love this country. We just think we need to fix this." And maybe you disagree, but I think, and it probably goes both ways, maybe, right? But I feel like we got to get better about really trying to listen to each other about the criticisms we have, because whether we're right or wrong, perception's a hell of a thing, right?
Right.
So,
Well, and I think
um,
ultimately we really do agree on a lot of things. When you remove politics out of the situation, when you're not talking about a left or right thing, Republican or Democrat thing, we all have families, we all have lives, we all have friends, we all laugh, we all love, we all get mad, we all lose our temper, we all, are judgy. We're human, and we all make mistakes and we all do good things for people. And I just think when you remove politics out of it, when you can really have a conversation, I think most of the time, because our values and our love for our families and friends, it's pretty much the same. I mean, I do think we agree on a lot of the stuff, but it's like, how do you fix it when you're constantly like Biden this or Trump this or whatever? I mean, it doesn't all it's none of that stuff really matters when it comes right down to when we turn off TikTok or turn off social media. We have to deal with everyday things that we all deal with. Bills and stress and money and I mean, it's just the same for everybody. So,
I think that's kind of what the goal of this actually is to point out that I think one of the biggest drivers of all that is media itself. Media has gotten away from its role as the fourth estate. It's become a money-making process that really just about clicks, views, engagement. I
right,
think there's this misconception that like media gives a shit like as a whole about like the left or the right. Don't get me wrong, there's certain outlets on all sides that obviously push
right,
their narrative, but these things care about engagement. They care about advertisement money and they care about their bottom line. So for example, like no one wants to talk about this, but CNN and MSNBC, they loved Donald Trump. They were never closer in ratings to Fox News than when they had Donald Trump to complain about, right? And
right,
that was something Trump was brilliant at. Trump was a good marketer in the sense that he truly played by the I don't give a shit if it's positive or negative news. All news is good news because then
right.
you're in the cycle. People are talking about me. And he was able to walk this line unlike anyone I've seen in my lifetime in American politics, where he could say something and he could get one side so happy, right? And we're talking about these sides, and one side so angry. Because oftentimes someone might come along and say something and they piss off one side or they make one side happy. But how often you talking and everybody's reacting, regardless,
Right.
right? So there's something to be said for that skill set. There's also to be something said for what we value as a society, that we like the division. Like we like this shit, right? Because how about you? If you put a video up where you try to be like friendly, inviting, kind, it probably doesn't do as well as like the more kind of fiery, angry videos, right?
Well, that's
And
true.
why is that? Because of what we click on ourselves, what we pay attention to ourselves.
Well, maybe it's because a lot of people keep a lot of their emotions inside. So when there are people that are more willing to say what they want to say, it kind of brings it out. You know what I mean? And it
Hmm.
just kind of it gives them the courage to say, "Yeah, that's exactly how I feel." Kind of thing. And I don't know if it's necessarily that they like drama. I actually think that both sides are really sick of the drama between us. I don't think we've ever been more divided than we are right now. And it's sad because I love my country and I know that there's people on the left and the right that love this country. We don't want it to go to shit. It is the
Hmm.
best country. We have nowhere else to go. We aren't rich. We can't just go and buy a house in Costa Rica and live like kings. And I mean, we have to stay here. So we have to figure out a way to deal with this and be like, F the politicians, F the government, and let's just be together and live together and try to get along. Because I don't think people on both sides, not politicians, but just the regular people, I don't think either one of them like any politicians. I
Hmm.
think that we all can agree they're corrupt. They get away with crap we never would be able to get away with. I mean, for the stuff that a lot of them are doing, we'd be in prison
Well, to
for
your
a very
point,
long time.
there's a bit of a farce here that we fall for, right? So we hear all these debates between our politicians, but they have no problem when it comes to funding our foreign wars. They have no problem when it comes to funding the NSA or signing the new provisional parts of the Patriot Act or things like that, right? Et cetera, et cetera. They only seem to have a problem when it's shit we as a people want. Then we can't
Right.
figure it out. But that speaks to the fact that we're an oligarchy. We're not the democracy or the republic that we think we are, right?
Right.
Because I think people kind of misconstrue that, right? We're a democratic nation. Democracy is an umbrella term, just to kind of jump into it for people, right? And there's a direct democracies and representative democracies. We're a representative democracy that takes the form of a constitutional republic, right? So
Right.
it's not a direct democracy, but it is a form of a democratic nation. But we're
Right.
not that shit anymore because this is an oligarchy. The big
Well, and that
industries.
just shows, yeah, you're right, because they're destroying our constitution, and I don't think people on either side really understand how important that piece of paper really is. It's like a marriage license. You know, you can have a marriage with people or with someone, but the marriage license seals it. It's like that's what makes it secure. And then without the good marriage, though, without us having a a country that we can live in and we get our rights and our freedom and everything, then the marriage license is just a piece. It's just a piece of paper. They work together. We need both, and our Constitution is just a piece of paper, but it's a very important document that benefits us, not the government. It benefits us, and more people need to understand how important that document really is, because when they start removing our rights, when they can take one, they're going to take them all. um, and that's when it will be bad for America, because there's America left and right. We're not going to deal with that. I
Mm-mm.
think most of us can agree that those rights are pretty important, all of them.
That's a good point. I think people there's this misconception. What the Constitution's looking to do is it's telling the government what it can't do. It's constraining the government. It limits the
Right,
government. Actually, it's not a list of shit that we can do. It's a list of
right.
shit that the government can't do to us. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I think there's flaws in the Constitution, but to her point, this is a pretty damn good document that has withstood the history of time to some degree, and it leaves breathing room, right? We've added amendments to it, we have jurisprudence, right? So even the First Amendment, as written, is not how we do things today, right? Because we have court cases all the time on First Amendment issues, right? There's five different rights in there. So, for example, our recent free speech standard is goes back to a court case from 1969, right? So it wasn't even as they conceptualized it then. So there's a lot of moving parts here. I think I would give a little push, not pushback even. I think I would acknowledge that the Constitution hasn't always worked for everybody in this country, but that's not because the Constitution can't work. To her point, people have to fucking do it themselves, right? It's not enough to have a good system to even have some decent rules or laws in place, right? You got to be the people themselves got to actually like then facilitate that process.
Right.
So maybe we just have never lived up to that. Maybe might be a fair thing to say, but to her point,
Well,
we
what did he
can.
say? It's not what your country can do for you; it's what you can do for your country. Isn't that how it goes? It's like
Yeah,
you have
something to
to
that effect.
work.
Exactly.
I mean,
Hmm?
you have to. Don't ask for people to take care of you, but there is the mentality. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but there is a
No, you're fine. You're
mentality
chill.
that just give me. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to work for it. I want what you got. And that's not fair, because if that person were in that other person's shoes and somebody wanted what they got, I mean, then it's like, but when you don't have, you want what somebody else has. That's just, that's greed. And I think a lot of people in our country are greedy all over the board. Just
I do too. I think this is interesting to me is I think a lot of people will agree with that, but then I think we all disagree on what that stems from. Because I don't think that necessarily people are inherently greedy so much as I think that we live in a system that makes us value certain things that devalue humanity, right?
that's
So I
true.
think, for example, if you look at what we value in media, what our corporations, because our corporations want us to live in a society where we're buying their shit, right? And if we live within
Right.
this society where we want to keep buying their shit, typically that takes your focus off other things. Because what do we value, right? We value cars, we value status, we value what people kind of see, and we measure success with material things. It seems like. So I think part of that is just our society kind of running away from human values, right? Like, so I'll give an example. I'm not a religious person myself. I have no animosity towards religion. I don't. I think most of the religions have good teachings. So I'm like, cool. As long as you don't try to force me, do your thing, right? But that being said, I've never felt more like spiritual or religious than I was up in Alaska, like in the deep wilderness. There ain't nobody around there. I was like, it was just me, the fucking bears, and the woods,
Hmm.
man.
Hmm.
That's as close as I've ever felt to God, probably. So I think there's something to be said for kind of getting away in some sense from like this crazy go 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 productive USA and getting a little bit back
Absolutely.
towards remembering that there's a big old world out there, and I think we've kind of forgotten that.
A
So,
really beautiful world.
mhm,
I mean, it
100%.
really, really is. It's really, I mean, it's kind of incredible to think that we're all here on this earth. Now there's like alien talk. What do you think about that?
I don't like I can't I don't know, but what I do know is like it's a big old universe out there, and it'd be crazy to think we're the only ones.
I
Um,
know, but what do you think that means? Have you heard? I mean, have you listened? Did you watch that 60 Minutes about? I mean, like this has been going on, and this is equipment that if another country has it and they've developed it, then we're in trouble, and if it's aliens, we're in trouble.
so
Like, I mean,
I have a theory on this. So, and it could be totally fucking wrong, but I was thinking about it like as humans have like advanced with our technology in general, like our murder rates have fallen, people have lived longer and things like that, right? Like kind of like things have kind of gotten better. So I'm thinking if there's a species out there that has technology so great that they can come here, they probably see this shit show going on like, yeah, we don't want to fuck with them. Like it's not worth, you know what I'm saying? They've probably got to some
right,
point where they're like above our petty shit.
right.
I mean, I was just me shooting from the hip, right? But I do think, like, I think we have this misconception, like, an alien could be like a form of bacteria somewhere out there, right? They're just like sustainable
Flying
life in some
spaceship.
sense. Well, that's for sure not, right? But yeah, what's interesting about that, the sightings are usually around like nuclear reactors and things like
I
that,
know. That is so
which
weird.
which goes back to they don't want to deal with our bullshit. They're probably like, look at these crazy little fucks. They're trying to like blow shit up. We don't want to deal with them. So
I don't
maybe they're trying to warn
know.
us. They're trying to warn us, maybe keep us from the worst of ourselves.
I just find it really, it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. Like, all this time we're fighting, and then if it is something like that, and you're like, why the hell have we been fighting when this was going to be the ultimate thing, anyways? Kind of thing. I mean, I don't
Ha-
know. And I can't say that there isn't because I'm open minded enough to be like, well, I mean, if God created this earth, why, maybe there's,
mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
maybe one day we'll find out. So it's
Well, have you
interesting.
ever seen or the movie Watchmen? It's based upon the comic series from Alan Moore, I think.
Mm-mm.
That's kind of it's kind of about that essentially, not really, but like basically there's like superheroes and stuff, and like one guy gets like this crazy power essentially because like he has like a like radioactive accident basically, and pretty much it turns into like a godlike figure essentially. And long story short, that's what they do. They pretty much stage this thing where they blame him for like this like crazy destructive thing, and then
Hmm.
mankind revolt like all unites despite all their bullshit to try and fight him essentially long term. And the question is like, what's more important, like trying to reach like that point like truthfully, or just reaching that point regardless of how you do it? Because it's based upon a lie, and there's some people arguing about that,
I'll have
right?
to watch that.
It's a great movie, yeah. So check
It's
it
called
out,
The
man.
Watchmen.
It's called Watchmen. Yeah, it's a good one.
Watchmen.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good one. Kind of
I'll
nerdy,
take a
no
look.
doubt about it. It's like a nerdy superhero movie, but I think it touches on kind of what you're talking about here, and to some degree, like so. Let me do a few things here real quick. Yo, everyone go follow Resist for Humanity. Everyone go follow District 12, Kitty. Everyone go follow Care Bear 00. Everyone go follow Wonder Woman Right Fighter. Everyone go follow Joseph Taylor 1971. Cheyenne for UBI, definitely go follow her. And to the guy who said I blocked him, obviously I didn't because I can see your comments, Home Slice. So, anyways, if anyone you want
All
to call out,
right.
now's your moment. Oh, the People's Bartender. He's a conservative. We're going to talk to him next. Go follow him. He's good people too. Cool. I'm done now.
I don't know how to read all these comments right. It's crazy.
They come in fast, right?
They do come in fast. Wow. Well, I don't know. Maybe we can get together if you think of it
Hmm?
now that we kind of have,
A
our
little bit of a rapport. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe we can talk in the back, and maybe if your followers and friends, have any ideas, and then I'll ask, and then we can have like a real
Maybe set
debate.
something a little more formal, maybe kind of dive into
Yeah.
something. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think that'd be good.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so good place to leave it. Hey, it was Angela, right?
Yep.
Cool, Matt. So appreciate you
Matt.
doing this.
You too.
Thanks to everyone who was in there and did this. Thanks for your time, guys. Take
All
care.
right. Yeah. Bye.
Cool. All right, so obviously I'm gonna stick around here. Let me end this.